Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing a little bit of a different video. I just wanted to hop on here and show you one of the software additions that Adobe has made to Photoshop. So basically they've added in what they call a super resolution enhancement feature on their Camera Raw, which allows you to double up the megapixel count on your images. So Adobe made an update late last week where they added this feature into their Photoshop Camera Raw uh, software, and I found it amazing. So I just wanted to show you, how it would work for wildlife photography and the likes. I've chosen this shot of a carmine bee eater. It's one of the shots I took while in the Kruger 2 weeks ago. So you'll see that the bee eater is not very large in the frame, so it will need quite a extensive crop to get the bird as the subject of the photo, and show off the bird's vibrant colors and how beautiful it is. Um, so I just want to show you how I would edit the image normally, and basically the crop I would get without the super resolution feature, and then I'll come back and I'll edit it with the super resolution and show you perhaps what the improvements in the software AI actually do. So I'm going to quickly change the Camera Raw settings. I shoot uh, you know 2/3 of a stop lower, and you'll see that my pictures then are dark for that. And what I do is then come into post and normally change that, recover the shadows, increase the exposure, normally dehaze as well, just 10 points, and then increase the vibrance and the saturation, given that I shoot a very neutral profile in camera, so I need to add in those vibrance and saturation. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. Okay, so we've got my image here in Photoshop open. My computer is rather slow because of the recording I'm doing with the OBS. So I'm just going to give it a quick edit as I would normally do. The first thing I would do is actually crop in, and you'll see that this image has a lot of dead negative space above the bird. What I would normally do is do a square crop and actually crop, so that the bird is almost on a third in the frame. So I think here is where I would like the crop to be. I don't want to lose too much of resolution, so yeah, that's where I'll keep it. So I'll just, so you can see that that's about as good as I get in terms of the crop. A little bit of the noise is starting to show through, and the bird itself is not as sharp once you zoom in, but we'll go ahead with this edit. So I'll just use a high pass filter to add in some sharpness, and I'll bring in a linear contrast curve, which, I mean, the way I edit is how I like it. And then the image is a little dark, as you can see from the histogram as well. So I'll just bring in a levels adjustment layer and adjust the levels accordingly. So that basically would be my edit. I think what I can also do is adjust the hue and saturation of the targeted colors. So the bird is red, blue, cyan, magenta. So I'll just bump those colors up. It doesn't make a big difference, but I mean it does make the bird stand out, I think, a little. So this would be my quick edit, and I'll quickly export this to JPEG. So this is the default native file. Okay, so I'm going to open up the raw file again. You'll see what happens this time is that the settings that I used on opening up the raw file are still there. So then I'll go ahead and run the enhance the super resolution feature that I'm speaking about. It takes a while to actually render the super resolution, and what we'll do is we'll put it here on the eye maybe. Okay, so we'll just focus on the eye. So that's the enhanced, and that's the without the enhanced. So you can see it does bring out some of the details and makes it a bit sharper if you zoomed in all that way, but it does add some noise as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and then enhance it. It says 5 minutes, but normally I see with my computer it's less than a minute to enhance. So we'll just watch that. You can see it's 8:55 now. So there you go. Just over a minute later. So I'll go ahead and open that one. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice is that the new enhanced or super resolution file is 8,000 by 12,000 pixels. The original file was half that size, so 4,000 by 6,000 pixels. So what we'll do is go ahead and edit it as we edited the previous one. So we'll keep a square format, I think, but because we can maybe get in a little bit tighter on the bird itself, what I'll do is crop in a lot more. Yeah, and about there is where I'll leave it. So what you'll see is, so this is still a 5,700 by 5,700 square. Whereas if you look at this original, even though you're not cropped in as much, it's 3,500 by 3,500. And then I'll just run through the same edits as I did for the other one. So you can see once the file is open, even though it's a much bigger file, it's not causing as much problems. I think it's just the OBS in the background that's causing the problems. Okay, so you can't really see that hue and saturation. It's just in my imagination maybe. So I want to go ahead and then export this image as a JPEG, and I want to show you guys, side by side, what the two images look like. Okay guys, so on the left is the original image, on the right is the enhanced image. You'll see that in terms of image quality, I'd have to probably zoom in a little bit just to show you the image quality, but looking sort of around the bird's head and eye, where you'd want the focus to be, you can see that the original image has a little bit more noise because you've cropped in, and the detail in the feathers is not there, the detail in the eye is not as good, whereas the enhanced image, the noise is not as apparent well, to me anyway. I don't know if you can see it in the screen recording, and you do get like if you look in on the feathers on the neck and here on the crest, you get in a little bit of more detail. And to me, the eye is a little bit, you know, sharper as well, or you can, yeah, you can almost call it a bit more sharper. And I mean, you know, your original image, you'd only be able to crop to about that. And, you know, comparing it now to the enhanced image where you almost have, you know, 1.3, maybe even 1.4 times zoom, the image that you can now present is a much better image from the same still that you know, took out in the field. The bird is bigger. Um, it's a little bit higher resolution as well, so you've got a little bit more detail. So um, you know, you're not losing detail by cropping much closer. And then I just wanted to show you one last thing. So if you look at the file sizes, um, the original would have been about 18 megabytes to start with if it was uncropped, and then the square crop brings it down to about 9. The enhanced is, you know, 20 megabytes, and it's been cropped quite significantly. So I think what the intention was from Adobe was that they could give you an AI tool that actually allows you to, you know, upsize your images, especially if you want to print them. So for instance, this 20 megabyte enhanced file, which you've also cropped in further, will then be able to print, you know, much larger than if you were to crop this as close and export it as a JPEG. Um, if you are printing your stuff, it does help to get it or get the images out of your Photoshop editing as crisp and as high quality as possible. The other thing I think I wanted to, you know, just say is that I shoot with a, you know, 100 400 and a 200 600 out in the field. And what this does is, you know, I can still shoot with the 100 400 perhaps and get in a little bit closer post, uh, because the image quality would probably allow it, um, even though, you know, the subject matter would be smaller in the original image, because you know, you're not, your super resolution is actually not losing as much detail when you crop in. So it's almost as if you have a, you know, 1.3 or 1.4 extender fitted to the back of the lens without any significant loss in the amount of light coming into the lens. So, you know, if you're using a 1.4 extender, for instance, you lose a stop of light. So if you're shooting at 5.6, you drop down to f8. So you can keep shooting at f5.6, which is you know, particularly important in low light situations, such as a cloudy day. And you can reduce the, you know, ISO. So you reduce the digital noise in the original image, and then you can come into post and actually then just you know, enhance your raw file and get as good an image as if you were shooting with probably a 200 600. This update came out, you know, last Thursday, so a week ago. I still need to now go out into the field and maybe test this out, use both my 100 400 and my 200 600, shoot at, you know, the end of the lens's range, and see, you know, what the difference in image quality is if I shoot with the 100 400 and enhance it digitally, or if I shoot with the 200 600 and, you know, have that 200 600 file at 600 just to use natively. So yeah, it's something I want to go and try out. But for now, I still think this is quite the game changer in terms of what they've done with the intelligence. The resolution you get out of these enhanced files are well, for me, simply terrific, compared to, if you were still using native straight out of the camera raw images. Um, so it's one of the tools that I will be using probably extensively in Photoshop, um, because I do a lot of bird photography, and a lot of the time the subject matter is small in the frame, and I would love to, be able to crop even further in, and this, super resolution actually allows it.